Welcome to the next episode of Flintco Talks. It's your boy Dano. I'm here in Austin this morning in the recording studio, and I am overwhelmed with excitement to have Mr. Norris Sebastian, Director of CTE at Valle ISD, in the house this morning. Good morning, Norris. How are you?
Good morning, Dano. I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. I'm really glad that you're here today. I want to talk a little bit about kind of what you do for Del Valle. Can you tell us, before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe how you ended up at Del Valle, the long winding road.
The long road.
Yes, sir.
I grew up in South Austin, and my family's home place is just down the street here from y'all, out here in the hills.
Nice.
In high school, I went into culinary. Was working in restaurants as a young kid. Wanted to go to culinary school and moved off to France and became a chef and was in that industry for a long time, and then had some life changes and started teaching culinary, and then teaching adults and moving into teaching kids, and that took me into public education.
Wow, you're kind of the unicorn, a guy that was actually born in Austin and still working in Austin.
Yeah.
And you've been to France in between. I remember you telling us last night while we were having dinner that at one point you even lived in Ecuador. So you're like Mr. Worldwide. You've been all over the place.
Over the place, yeah. Back in the day when back in the '80s, if you said I want to be a chef, how do I do that? And the only answer people had was, well, you go to the Cordon Bleu in France.
Of course.
There wasn't another answer.
Right.
Now there's culinary schools all over the place. Now the U.S. has a lot larger chef culture. That didn't exist way back then. For me, my role models were the Julia Childs and the Galloping Gourmet. That was it.
That's awesome. That's really good. So when you kind of went through your chef career, and you had told us that you kind of moved to Ecuador at a point, and then you ended up coming back and getting into education. What was it about education that really made you want to jump into it?
As an executive chef of big restaurants, it was really, working every night, every holiday, every weekend, and I needed to do something else. So I started looking like what that could be, and part of being an executive chef is you have to make yourself non-replaceable. You need people to come in and be able to do what you do, right? You're training and teaching every single day. And I really enjoyed that aspect of being a chef and having someone who had an interest in cooking and really getting them to a point where they were really fluent in what they were doing. And so that aspect of teaching was very attractive to me. My wife is also a teacher, and so she also encouraged me, said, this could be good, for us as a family.
Yeah, for sure.
And so those are the pieces that really, I already had a love for teaching, had a love for cooking, and so just, those just made sense to move into.
Yeah, I love your thought about what I wrote down as must be indispensable in your job, right? Make yourself the person that people come to, make yourself the teacher, make yourself the person that really helps things click, and I relate to that in the construction industry as well. It's what I tell our young folks as they come into the business. They're like, hey, how come you've worked at Flintco 22 years? And it's like, well, I've tried to make myself that guy that everybody needs something from. And it's really a good mindset to have yourself as you go into whatever career you choose. It's like, be the guy that will go the extra mile, be the girl that goes the extra mile.
Right.
Discretionary effort, show us what you got. So you're the director of CTE. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. So career and technical education.
Okay.
Back in the olden days, it was VOTEC and other things that we've called it over the years.
Sure.
And state of Texas kind of renamed it for the state at some point. So our focus is in Del Valle is really preparing kids for the future. So CTE is under the umbrella of workforce development. So we have a full workforce development department. Some will in the construction field. Construction's looking for a lot of entry-level people, but there's also architects and engineers in that same category of students. Some students want to go into architecture or engineering, but they're maybe in the construction class right now, or vice versa. Maybe they're in the architecture or engineering class and want to be in construction. And so when we look at these great jobs that are right out of high school and don't require a college degree, a lot of these kids may be interested in going to college because they're interested in advancing their career. And so our philosophy is get them as many industry certifications as we possibly can and get them as many college credits as we can. Our outreach in CTE, we have many places where our partners interact with our kids, but we also have many times when our colleges are interacting with the kids. So we take the kids to both because we really don't know what they're going to do when they leave. I don't know how you came into the business. I don't know how anybody else came into the business.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When I graduated, I knew I wanted to be a builder. I knew I wanted to somehow be able to build stuff. I only wanted to go to Texas A&M. It's the only place I applied to go to college. Thankfully, they accepted me. After doing mission work growing up is where I found the love for construction, right? When I was in 6th grade, went on a mission trip to Brownsville, Texas, worked on this underprivileged lady's house, and it was the best feeling ever when we walked away, and she was like, oh my gosh, my house looks so nice. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
I want to serve people. I want to be able to do that. So it came to me maybe more naturally than it comes to other people as they go from here to there. But I was grabbed at a young age with that construction love. So tell us a little bit about your program. I know last night we talked. You said you have a bunch of different tracks that your students can go through. Can you tell us just a little bit about that?
Sure. So I guess about a dozen years ago, Texas Education Agency gave schools directives to put together coherent sequences of classes. So those coherent sequences of classes could be in the CTE programs, so they could be in band or performing arts or early college. So we took the programs that were currently existed in Del Valle when I arrived. We took a look at those. We were about to build a new building that had passed the bond, hadn't broken ground yet. Put together a huge committee of stakeholders and community and
of course,
parents and everyone, and said, what do y'all want to see? We have this new building that's coming up. We have capacity to add new programs into what we're doing. We're creating 4-year programs of study for everything. Those programs are in the state of Texas. Almost all students in the state of Texas have to choose a 4-year program of study when they're in 8th grade. So we start building around that piece of it. We look at what the interest level is at the 8th grade because we don't want to build something and then no one show up to it, right? So we have to gauge that interest that's in the 8th grade. So from that whole process, currently we have at our high school 23 different 4-year programs of study.
Wow.
And
23.
It's
wow.
We are the campus is a unicorn. There's very few. I don't even know if there's any campuses in the state of Texas that have that. I don't know that. I've never heard of one, but I'm not familiar with every single one. We are Del Valle. We're one high school. We just passed a bond a year and a half ago to add our second comprehensive high school, and the directive to me was, let's repeat what we did in the first high school. So we will have a couple of different changes in there, I'm sure, but for the most part, it'll be equity based, so that students on one side of town are getting something the other side's not getting.
Sure.
So try to keep it so it's equitable across the district. So those programs are again, many of them have college credit associated with them. Some even an associate's degree associated with them. Those programs are, biotechnology, auto tech, legal studies. To my knowledge, we're the only school in Texas where our kids get paralegal certifications before they leave.
Wow.
They get international mediation certifications, civil mediation certifications, and are currently working in class time on actual civil mediation cases and international mediation cases for real, for pay at this time.
Really?
So it's very innovative, and we're a 6A district, but we're only one high school and an early college high school, which is attached to the comprehensive high school. but we're really nimble. When we look at what a need is, or we hire a teacher who's very innovative, we give them long reins.
Yeah.
Go out there and make something happen. So we don't like to say no. It's like, yes, let's do it. Let's make it.
It feels
happen.
good to say yes, doesn't it?
It feels good to say yes,
really
and
does.
and encourage everybody. Encourage the students, encourage the staff, encourage everybody to to be their best and to go forth in all of these programs that we offer.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my high school career, like maybe what it would have looked like if I had gone to Del Valley, because I was the guy that took, I don't know, 7 or 8 different electives. I was in art, I was in shop class, I was, all these different things when I was in school. I was delivering Mexican food at night and on the weekends, right? And when I graduated, a non-competitive grade point going, hey, what am I going to do with myself? Hopefully A&M takes me, but I love to hear the things about the 4-year program of study and kids graduating from high school with an associate's degree, right? And actually have a trade that they can go practice, not like I did that said, I'm really good at delivering Mexican food. If it's ready in 10 minutes, I'll have it to you within 15. And that was the trade I had, right? But I grew up mowing yards and doing small construction projects for other people in our neighborhood. But I love to hear that. So one of the things that's really challenging Central Texas right now is a shortage of workforce for these giant construction projects that we have. Like we talked about at dinner last night, you think about the airport work that's going to be coming out in the next, month or two that's north of $2 billion. That's with a B, right?
Yep.
The convention center was awarded here just a couple months ago, which is another $1 billion project. AISD passed a bond within the last 18 months for $2 billion worth of work. UT, once the Irwin Center is knocked down, rest in peace. You drive by today, it looks pretty interesting, but they're going to replace that with a hospital that's over $2 billion. Who's going to build all this stuff? Right now, there is a labor shortage. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we recognize that, and our business is to get students career ready. Right, and again, that career may include college, it may not include college, but getting them career ready. So we are educators. We don't know everything there is to know about all of the different professions that I just spoke of. Right, so it's really critical that we're informed by our advisory committees, which are our partners, colleges and industry, that they help us get ready. So we're poised. I think that, a lot of people, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been in CTE my whole life from when I was in high school in home ec.
Yeah.
I
took that class too.
Yeah, I took it because there was food in there, and I fell in love with it, and I started working in a restaurant in high school. I hired CTE students as a chef, brought those students into the kitchen. And then began teaching them and then managing. So I've been in this field really my whole life in some form or fashion in different roles. Many people of my generation and a little younger and a little older still look at the trades, as something that they're not mining what high schools have very well, right? They're looking at community colleges, they're looking for adults who are transitioning, they're looking for somebody out there that's not so much the high school student. They know that they're there, but they don't devote a lot of outreach to the high schools. But with the 4-year programs, high schools are now doing what first and second year of community colleges are doing to some extent.
Sure.
Right? I wouldn't say that we're replacing community college by any means. But for instance, all of our trades, again, 4-year program, starts in the 9th grade. Whatever the textbook resources are at our local community college, ACC, Austin Community College, those are the textbooks we have. We introduced the textbooks ACC has in the 9th grade.
Wow.
So they're with those textbooks. So ACC is using those over a 2-year period. We're using them over a 4-year period. So again, our goal is to get the kids the training that ACC is offering. Again, their community college, their outcomes with these adults will usually be higher than we would achieve at the high school, but we're getting into that space, and we're getting kids. Another reason we use the ACC textbooks is if these students decide to go into college and they want to stay in the field, they go to ACC. They've already seen the material, so that our hope is that their success rate is going to be much higher because they're used to it. It's going to be comfortable for them. It's going to be familiar for them. So that's a really important piece for us, is to be able to start to introduce that relevant work as quickly as possible. So I think for our partners in this industry, in the construction industry, they need to fully understand that we're doing that work already, and we have a job-ready workforce in our campuses. I think the number of school districts in this region is over 50 in this area. So it's and not everybody has a construction, not everybody has a plumbing,
Right.
not everybody has all the different programs, but there's a lot of training going on. And what we're doing in Del Valle, our program is not so unique, right? There's other districts doing this all over the place as well, and they're not just in this region, in Texas, in the United States. It's happening everywhere, and I guess our as the workforce is dwindling in the construction, the need for companies to come and interface with us and give us direction on what it is you're looking for is really critical.
So tell me a little bit about how many students y'all have at your high school.
Yeah, Del Valle is usually number 1, number 2, number 3 in size between San Antonio and Killeen. This year we're 3,600 students at the high school.
Wow.
So it's huge, hence the need for a new high school.
Yeah.
Right? It's getting big.
Yeah.
With that, we have currently about 75% of those students are right now sitting in a CTE class. So a huge number of kids sitting in CTE classes. A lot of people ask me about the do they have the same graduation requirements as everybody else if they're taking these construction 1, 2, 3, 4, welding 1, 2, 3, 4. So all it really does, the coherent pathways, is it concentrates their electives. So as you said, you took intro to this and principles of that. Students can still do that. They have space in their schedule for other electives. And so we do have students that are in band, for instance, and they're using up a lot of their elective credits for that, but they still have maybe 1, 2, 3, even 4 credits, spaces left. And so they may do just what you did and take these intro. So they can still use high school as an exploratory route, or potentially they could do 2 programs of study, which we also have that. Our middle schools offer 8 different classes to achieve high school credit.
Wow.
If the students take those classes, it opens up more of those electives when they get into high school, so they can easily take 2 programs of study that are very different from each other, like again band and welding, or they may be construction and engineering, right? So they could take those 2. So it really that strategery really starts down in the 6th grade.
So of the 75% of the kids that are in, I'm just trying to do the math real quick, 75% of 36. So if you think about how many of those students do you see are would choose the workforce rather than college when they graduate?
It's interesting, all the work that we do to all this stuff to get these students ready to go out there. When they leave our door, data stops.
Gotcha. Okay.
We don't know.
Okay.
We know we have a percentage going to college, but I don't specifically, doesn't delve down enough to tell me that that
if they make it, or
that Jimmy or Sally win or not. We don't know that, right? Or it's the same thing when you took your first job. Who reported that back to your high school? Nobody.
Yeah, nobody did.
Nobody. And so we really don't know. We know in certain programs because we see it happening. We see our auto tech students the vast majority of those go right into work, and then ones that want to do work on, say, Harley Davidson or some of the other brands of cars, they go to a trade school because that's the only place that training happens.
Sure,
that's the only place you can get trained.
Yeah,
and so they know they need more education going forward. But again, we only know that because of hands being shook on the way out the door of what's happening. But we really don't have good statistics, unfortunately.
No, that's okay. I was just curious to know, because if you think about the shortage we have, we've heard numbers between 30, 40, maybe even 50,000 people short to be able to complete all this work. The project I'm working on right now at the University of Texas on the Pickle campus, our mechanical pipe installer has a request into the union for 100 pipe fitters. 100, right? that they cannot place right now. They're doing work at Samsung, they're doing work for us, and they're doing work at other projects, but they need 100 people, and that's just one mechanical contractor here in town.
Right there. Well, we have 14 right now that'll be graduating.
Oh, do you?
Right now.
Yeah, after this, let's trade
after
phone
this,
numbers.
exactly. And those are ones also that get picked up really quickly. You know, we have some really good partnerships in that field of welding. Plumbing and pipe fitting usually is where many of them go. Some go into structural steel. We really focus on the plumbing and pipe fitting side of it, but we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where it's almost going to be like maybe when my grandparents graduated from high school. It's like not everybody's going to go to college. Not everybody needs to go to college. There's plenty of work to do other things, and it's really interesting to think about that. And I'm relating back to what you said. You're trying to catch these kids in the 8th grade to gauge their interest. And what came to mind was like the football recruiting analogy, right? I heard the story about Leonard Fournette, which was a great running back for LSU, that the coach was on the way to the high school to watch somebody else and saw Leonard walking off the field and talked to him. It's like, hey, this guy's in 8th grade. And that day he was sold on LSU. Right, because at an early age, somebody showed interest in him, right? And so I think that there's got to be a correlation about how we can get people into the industry as well. Do you see that being a big part of that? Somebody comes in and talks to an 8th grade class, and 4 years later, they're still carrying the dream of, I'm going to go work for that company because they showed interest in me 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. It's the most important part of it, and not just the 8th grade. You know, we provide opportunities for our partners to come engage with students every year from the 8th grade up, and even into the 7th grade. Every year they can engage with our kids, and we have specific, detailed plans on what we know works for companies. We sit down and we visit with companies and figure out what their goals are, figure out what their mission is. We talk about our goals and our mission, and then we see where that dovetails together into a partnership. And so we have, because we've been doing it for a long time, there's a lot of there's different models that we have, the success models that we have, where we are the intent and practice is students are going to have your business card at least 5 times while they're there. So that conversation on the side of the field didn't happen just that one time. It happened again and again and again with different forms of outreach. Today, y'all invited me into your safety meeting. That safety meeting was real world stuff. You had in that meeting, you had your other teams zooming in. We would love to zoom into that with our students, so our students can see what that looks like. So that's a piece of the outreach. So a lot of times the outreach, a lot of companies think it's really daunting, like, oh my God, it's this big piece that we're going to have to put together. Well, a lot of that's outsourced to us. I mean, y'all are having the meeting anyway.
Sure. Right?
We just loop in. There's one of our interactions for the school year with whatever grade level we think that interaction may be. You talked about doing some volunteer work when you were young, and I know y'all that philanthropy is in y'all's is in y'all's DNA.
Absolutely.
Well, have our kids involved in that? What does that look like? Are y'all building something here locally for somebody? Are y'all doing in a project? Invite our kids in. You're already doing that, so it's not hurting. It's not diminishing your capacity to do your work, right? Because that's part of your mission and your goals, and we can just piggyback on that. And now also, what does the student get out of that? the student gets out some experience, but they're also like, wow, this company has given back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
That's within me as a human. I'm interested in that. I like that. I like that they did that. You said it inspired you to go into the industry, right? Well, it can inspire these kids also. And again, not sapping. We're not sapping your energy. We're not sapping your productivity because y'all are doing that anyway.
Right.
So those kind of pieces are very organic ways that companies can get involved with with these touch points, with these interactions, over the year, over the course of the span of while the kids are in high school.
Yeah, and you talk about that, and I want to talk a little bit about the sponsorships that you were talking about and time commitments. But when I think about time commitments, it's like there's not enough time in the day anyway. But I love what you said. I mean, just simple observations about just showing up to the safety meeting, something we do every week. Everybody across the company calls into that. And the philanthropy piece, like this past fall, we went and worked on a lady's house on the east side of town. She'd lived there 60-something years. We scraped the house, power washed it, recaulked all the windows, and the next week somebody came and painted it. Would have been super easy just to shoot you the email and said, hey, if you got 3 or 4 kids want to show up, tell them to come on.
Yep.
That's really awesome. So tell me a little bit about the time commitment. Like if somebody wanted to be a sponsor of your program, or somebody that's listening, one of my trade partners that's listening, I know you're out there and you need folks to come work for you. What does the commitment look like so we can begin to get these ready to work students, like you said, coming out of school that are workforce ready? What are the avenues to do that with y'all?
Sure. So we look at partners as, like gold, silver, bronze, and that gold level partner, they would have. So if we look at the kind of the buffet of outreach pieces that we have, a couple of them are time consuming, right? Internships.
Yep.
When does an internship happen? That is a time consuming one. But an internship can literally be however long that partner wants to do an internship. The goal of the internship is to ensure that the student understands what your company is doing.
Okay.
They need to be able to see themselves working in this job that they will be hired for, and they also need to see the progression from that job up. So again, if we use plumbing, it's an analogy I like to use, is if take them to a job site, take them to a place and say, you will start in the hole down there making this range of pay, whatever that range of pay is, somewhere in here. Companies know what that range of pay is.
Sure.
And to get to be the leader, the crew leader, or whatever you're called in what y'all are doing, you're going to have this certification, and you're going to have to do this internal training with the company. Many of the workers who start here and go there, they do that for about whatever the time frame is. The time frame, right? It's going to be 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, whatever it is, whatever that, and then you're going to be making in this pay range. And if you have that mapped out for the rest of progression up, maybe all the way to project manager, right? What does that look like? So that's a larger time commitment. So I'm going to take that one out. That internship could be 3 days or 8 weeks.
Okay.
Right? It could be whatever. It's again, the goal, show the students what it is they're going to be doing and have them do a little bit of that work if it's possible. In y'all's industry, it's a little bit more difficult because many of y'all's places are deemed hazardous by the federal government, and we can't have younger students in those spaces doing in work or when that work is happening. So it limits that a little bit, again, depending on the locations and what that can look like.
Yeah, I think about the hazardous classification. All of our projects generally have like a job trailer where the team's set up, all our meetings happen in there. I think about our trade partners that have fab shops across town, right? There's some great fab shops across town where you can go and learn how to weld pipe, the process of welding, what the positioner is. You can do plastic pipe, metal pipe, whatever it is, the whole gamut, or even ductwork, fabrication.
Clean room piping.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clean room piping.
Yeah, for sure. That's I'd love people to look at that because I'm on a clean room job right now, and we have a boatload of process piping that's going to go in there, and there's definitely a need for it. So outside of the internship, if that's kind of maybe like the gold sponsor type people, how people that want to be involved but maybe are in the hazardous work environment? What other opportunities are there for them?
Yeah, so when we look at a gold sponsor, not including the internships, it's about 20 hours of commitment a year.
Wow.
So a very small amount.
Yeah, that's not like an hour and a half a week or something like that.
And
or
again,
a month almost.
Yeah, and an hour of that was your safety meeting today,
Yeah.
right? And then maybe that on-site job that y'all were doing, and you had the students there for 2 or 3 hours, right? That's clicking off that. So what we look at initially is we want to build interest in the middle schools. There are way too many middle schools in our region for partners to go visit them all. It's not possible.
Right.
Y'all will not devote that amount of time to go visit all middle schools.
No,
not gonna
just can't. Yeah.
Not going to happen. You may come occasionally. You may do something here and there, but really the best bang for the buck, two good bangs for the buck is a middle school district-wide event that's happening. Come set up tables, right? That could be one. You can talk to everybody. People come by your table. So those are things that school districts have in various forms and fashions. So that's a smaller commitment. You're getting a lot of middle school, but more as effective or more effective is all your companies probably have cool videos and cool programs.
Oh, yeah.
Cool projects y'all have worked on, right? A presentation that has all of that in there. You can give that to us. We will give it to the teachers, and they will have a Flintco day,
All right.
where they are just talking about what it is that y'all have provided us, and we deliver it to the students. So y'all don't even show up on that. So we're delivering it to all the middle school kids in exploring careers, right? That's part of their curriculum anyway. So it's a very easy thing for us to do. that same literature we give them, so that also gets into the hands of the parents. So we can do that through email to the parents. We can do that through handing it to the students. But the parent is still the primary influencer for these students to go in and stay within these programs of study as we go forward. So as I mentioned, that progression from the whole out of the whole and those numbers, the parents are seeing those numbers, right? When the kids are in the 8th grade, when the kids are in the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. We're giving that to them constantly so they can make informed decisions. Classroom visits. So now we start with classroom visits in the high school level. So one of your biggest time commitments is if a school has a robust program and they have intro to construction, 6 periods a day, we're asking you to devote a day, and you're presenting the same presentation again and again and again and again to the intro to construction kids, giving them
Which is like the 9th graders, probably.
9th grade,
Okay.
9th graders, giving them the same handout that they received before, your new updated handout. That's at that time, companies that have lots of fancy equipment that they could bring in, they could also bring it in. They could park it somewhere in the parking lot and near the cafeteria, and all kids can rush out there to see what's going on. You're handing stuff to them. So that could be part of the same day where you have a presentation happening outside during lunches, and then presentations happening in the classroom. So you're hitting not only the targeted students we're looking at, let's just say construction or welding or engineering students, but now you're hitting the band students, the athletes,
Sure.
the ones who might not also be in a CTE program. So you're able to have a touch point there with that whole group and hand out those business cards, because you're going to have graduating seniors who are going to be a lot more excited to see what you have out there than coming into the career fair.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And career fair is another piece. So come to the career fair again. You've already had the outreach with the CTE kids in your field. You may choose to not do a career fair because you think that there's enough happening in the program here. We don't really need to mine the band students or the athletes because we have the semi-skilled construction folks. You've already been speaking with them, right? So it's really, again, that's where we look at that partner capacity. Like, what do you want to do with that? Once we get into the junior, the sophomore or junior level, we want to get the kids on site. So for instance, today, one of our partners SAM, which everybody's probably familiar with, surveying and mapping.
Sure.
So they're doing the exact tour today that we recommend. We're taking 40 juniors, and this year seniors, because the seniors haven't had an opportunity to go on this field trip yet. They start in the morning at 9 with 2 groups of kids. These 9 go inside and see kind of all the BIM works and what's happening in that side of it. The other 20 go outside and they're actually with the surveying and mapping equipment.
Yeah.
They'll bring them back in for a meeting and lunch, and then those kids will switch and go to the tour, and then we get them back on the yellow school bus a little bit before 2 o'clock and get them back to the campus. So that tour right there is, again, hugely valuable because the kids need to see and really be exposed to what your company looks like. So every company is going to be a little bit different. We at this point, we don't need the kids to be hands-on. It's good if they are, but they just need to see, right? They need to see, and we're giving them the same packet of paperwork that we've given them every other time that we've seen them, right?
Yep.
So again, indoctrinating them into Flintco or your partners,
Sure.
right? What that looks like. Between the junior and senior years, when we like to have internships, that's the prime time. So we take these juniors who've now seen you multiple times since they've been in high school. We can interview them for a position to come work for you in a summer internship of the length and pay that y'all designate.
Sure.
Those interviews, we'll ask you for your interview questions, as close facsimile thereof that you can give us. We will have a Flintco teacher will create curriculum around your questions.
Oh, wow.
And the students will learn, what do these questions mean? Many of them haven't had formal interviews, right? So we're preparing them so they're like, why are they asking me what my biggest weakness is? Like, how do I answer that?
Yeah.
Like, they don't know, right?
Yeah.
So
It's got to be math class. I don't know.
yeah. So we're coaching them.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're coaching them with your questions. We're coaching them with an example of a resume that y'all have that's blotted out, so the kids can see, okay, here's an entry-level position with someone who didn't have any experience.
Sure.
What does it look like? What did they put on there? It's like, what did y'all consider to be a good resume for an entry-level position for someone who had limited experience? So the kids can now work on their resumes. So talk about outsourcing. We have a half-time Texas Workforce Solutions personnel on our campus. She can actually do the mock interviews for y'all.
Oh, wow.
So she can go in and she can practice with this. She can do the actual interviews for the internship for you if you want to. Many times our partners want to come in and do that themselves.
Absolutely.
But she could also help with it. So if y'all had 3 interviewers, because you were going to be interviewing 25 kids, right? And then so it's, she could help out with that, with y'all in that capacity. So we make space and time, for those interview sessions. So you're finding the students you want to invite into the internship. Internship, again, heavy commitment for whatever it is y'all want to do. Pay for interns, our lowest paid internship is $12.50. Our highest is currently $19.50.
Wow.
I will say, if it's $12.50, you better have a good rest of your game going on.
Right.
Something the kids are highly motivated to go within.
Sure.
Most of them fall in that mid-range, though. Most of them are in the middle. But even in the internship, you're not going to get all the kids, because some of these kids have jobs.
Sure.
And they're not going to quit their job or ask to have 2 weeks off or 4 weeks off in the summer between their junior and senior year, because they need that job in the senior year also.
Yep.
Right. So we may even miss some of the kids in that internship for reasons that are beyond our control. So these kids have now done the internship. In that senior year, the outreach with those students is going to be, you need to keep the kids engaged. You need to keep the kids on the hook. How do you do that? Let's bring them into, y'all have other meetings besides just the safety meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. Let's get them into those meetings. They can sit on that. They can sit on the periphery. They can sit back here and just watch what's happening in that meeting. You could have them over for lunch, get some, some pizza or something in, sit around the conference table and just have lunch with them and talk about, hey, y'all still interested in coming to work for us? Is your plan still to go to A&M? Are you going to be, going to the engineering program at ACC, who now has a four-year program for engineering at ACC through A&M? What are you doing, right? And remember, if you're going to go to college, we have college interns that we can bring in, or we can hire you while you're going to school. So there's whatever the partner, whatever the company's philosophy is on hiring those college folks, internship in the summer or part-time work while they're in college, whatever that is, that's all has to be part of the conversation from all the way back down at the 8th grade level. Like, what does it look like, so they understand, I want my son or daughter going into the construction field. We know they're going to have to start somewhere, but they're going to have to work and go to school at the same time in college. That's the only option that we have, right? So what does that look like for that family? That's what it looks like. So go ahead.
And that's what I love about this thing about seeing the wages, right? We've heard for months about forgiving college debt, and the federal government's going to bail people out on their decisions for people that can't get jobs to repay the loans that they have. But in the 8th grade, 9th grade, you're allowing people to start making an informed decision to say, hey, this is what you're going to make, right? Let's just take a look. Let's jump on Apartment Finder and see what an apartment costs to live over here in Del Valle, or see what it looks like to live in South Austin or Buda, wherever. And like, hey, if you're making $19.50 and you're working 40 hours a week and maybe a little bit of overtime, you can really see where you're going to end up and be in a better position to enter the workforce than going to school and getting debt and not being able to find a job. And you've got a plan. And once you have the plan, you can work the plan, and then you can be a contributing member of society and contribute to the $8 billion worth of work we're going to build here, just on the big projects here in Central Texas in the next 5 or 10 years.
Exactly. And kids, that plan. I have many kids come up and say, "What do I do next? Like, what's the next step? Tell me what to do, mister." They just want someone to lay out the pathway, and then they'll jump on the pathway and go forth, right? And so, if we don't do a good job of laying out the pathway, they're not going to get on the path. It's interesting. I was in a big meeting this past week or this week, and companies are saying, we have these job postings and nobody's applying for them. So I get online. I'm like, okay, let's find the job postings. Like, so I look at them all, and it's like, okay. So I say, your job postings, I see there, but there's no pay scale on the jobs.
Right.
High school kids aren't going to apply for a job that there's not a pay scale.
Exactly.
Period. They're not. They will not do it. So get with the HR department needs to get it together and say, we have to put these pay ranges on there. If you want to attract high school kids out of high school, put pay ranges on the jobs. How much can I make? Right. Because they're not going to do it.
Well, I think one of the reasons that maybe these students, kids, youth don't come into the construction industry is because they think they don't have experience, or they think I don't really know what it is, or they think everybody's a ditch digger, or they think everybody does this or everybody does that. And it's kind of like, that's the first step, right? If you show up and you have a good attitude and you show up to work on time and you do hard work, you make yourself that indispensable member of the team, right? You'll find yourself standing on the edge of the ditch in the next 2 years. You'll find yourself, driving in the company truck 5 years later, and all of a sudden you're the one that's doing the pre-task plan. You're the one that's lining out the crew every day. You're the one that just graduated from the hall and have your plumber certification. Yep. And you're going to be light years ahead of where I was when I was 23 years old. Yeah. Coming out of college, I was a surveyor when I first started. So I love to hear that some of your students are at SAM today, because that's a really great outfit and they do good work and have worked in Austin forever. And there's being a surveyor was great, because that's a way to understand, really even to start, how construction works, right? Will the building even fit on this site? What does the grade differential look like? And you can start figuring out all those things. That's awesome. So I want to circle back to the time commitment. When you're talking about 20 hours, I'm thinking about Flintco's time commitment, right? I'm on the recruiting team and recruit at A&M. We recruit at UT, Texas State, a handful of places. And I'm thinking 2 times a year, we show up Wednesday at noon and leave Friday at noon. That's 96 hours that I'm spending and hopefully can get 1 or 2 entry-level position folks. I'm thinking about for our trade partners, what does that look like? If you're a plumbing company and you need to hire 10 people, how many people are going to come through the door? How many people are you actually going to have to sit down and interview and have them on the job site for a week to realize if they're really going to work or not?
Right.
When you can, I mean, you can spend hours and hours. You might interview 25 people or 30 people to find 6 or 8. So what's the return on investment for the people that are going to spend 20 hours? How many students, and maybe this is like a question that doesn't have an answer, but like how many students would you expect would go work for somebody that's a plumber or an HVAC company or something like that that's doing these touch points?
Sure. So we so in our gold partnerships, it's also limited, in that those companies have to be. We don't want to have too many companies doing exactly the same thing, right? Because then they're competing against each other, kind of for the same group. So saying that, we tend to have our gold partners double digits.
Okay.
Double digits.
Wow.
So one of our challenges is internally to keep kids interested in the program, because again they have choices. Because again they may choose band. They may start off in band and welding, and eventually they have to choose because they don't have space in their schedules. And they're like, I'm enjoying band a whole lot more, right? Or if we have a partner that has a really good plan and really good carrots at the end of the plan, that kid's going to go, I think I'm going to stay with welding.
Sure.
Welding sounds much more reasonable because I'm going to have a job paying this and then this, right? So our partners are instrumental for us in building our own capacity, building our own pipeline. We turn the spigot on down here, but we need help keeping that flow going. So an example is welding. This year, so welding, we've had welding for 5 years in Valle Valley. So again, as 4-year programs. So we're in basically the second full time with the little COVID thrown in there as well.
Sure.
Right. Our program has, the freshman level program is 130 students.
Wow.
In welding.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That's where we're turning the spigot on. Like okay, we need to keep this 130. But when we move forward, we only have 80 into the sophomore year. And then we have 50 maybe or 40 in the junior year. Now they've met their graduation requirement. They don't have to take anything else because these classes are 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. So some students, if there's not a good carrot, or they've chosen something else, they may not even take the last welding class, which is where a lot of the magic happens.
Oh, wow.
Right? So our partners are instrumental in getting this. Right now we have, I think the number is, I think it's 21 or 22 senior welders right now. So our programs that are the most robust have been there longer than 5 years, and we have good partners down here that are picking up double digits from them.
Sure.
So, when I spoke and I said that we don't want to have too many partners overlapping each other, right? But what we look for is, we ask partners, what are the top 3 skills you're looking for? And then we will train them. We'll train them for you. And we can do as much specificity as the partner wants. We can build a little station that's, we'll just say Flintco centric.
Right.
Right. And in this little station over here where they learn these skills that you need for this position, it's going to take the students X amount of time to master that. So when do we implement that? We may implement it with the freshmen, and again with the sophomores, and again with the juniors, and again with the seniors.
Right.
Or it could be something like you 10 class periods and you mastered that.
You're good, yeah.
You're good to go. We don't know what that is because you're the one that directs that. And so then we can get those top 3 skills in there for those. So that's another time commitment piece, is helping us getting that together. Like, what does that station look like? Do you need to have our teachers come to you in the as a summer extern. So you're paying our teachers to be on site for X amount of days. Some of them are 3 days, some of them are 5 days, some of them are 10 days, depending on the company and what they feel that it is. And then that teacher then comes back and says, okay, we're going to build the station,
right,
and we're going to get this going, and now we're going to check off one of those 3 skills that you've given us. They're going to make our kids employable by you, almost guaranteed, because you've already worked with them all these times, and now you've seen their skill. You can come in and you can look at them. You can come in and check that, like if it's a weld test or a bend test or whatever welding was, this student, yes, consistently did this again and again. I mean, that in itself, you may say, hired, right, or whatever your parameters are, right, And so, many of our companies, I ask them what they're looking for, and so we want someone to show up on time, be nice, stay off their phone, and I say, I cannot create a 4-year program of study around that. If you want something at a higher level than that, you have to work with us.
Sure.
You have to help us so that we can help the students, so they can help themselves and their families and our community, so that they can then come to you and help y'all achieve your missions and goals.
Well, it seems like a no-brainer. Like these things that you're looking for at 20 hours is really nothing, right? I mean, that's really 1 or 2 hours a month that somebody's got to have a commitment there. And then for us, it would create the pipeline, right? Because as soon as we have students that might see the same people for 3 or 4 years, then all of a sudden they come to work for us. They're calling their buddies that they were in class with last year saying, hey, this place really is as good as they've been saying. And all of a sudden the pipeline is open.
That is correct.
And then it's word of mouth. And then you got 11th graders who have an 8th grade little sibling that says, hey, jump in the construction program or jump in the welding program because you want to come work for these people.
Yep.
And it seems like it seems too easy, right? It seems like it's a great solution, and it seems like y'all have really opened yourself up to receive information, advice, like even talking about the externship or having a teacher come sit on the job site for a couple days or sit in the fab shop and see what's going on, and then they can go back and build a station that says, hey, if you're interested in doing this, you got to be able to meet these criteria. I think that's world class, man. I mean, you guys are creating the Austinite, the unicorn Austinite has created a program that can and will continue to benefit Austin for years, if you get the right sponsors and you have the people bought in and you have the people that want to spend the time. So those of y'all that are listening, again, like come talk to Mr. Norris, right? Talk to him about what your company's looking for. Talk about how you can play a part in this. 20 hours a year, I feel like is a small commitment for what the payoff could be if you're getting people that are industry ready, coming out of high school, can jump right in the workforce, have already been to your shop, have already been to one of your projects, understand how things work, understand how the hierarchy works, and really understand what it takes to get to the next level, right? Those are the kids that you're going to want to hire that say, hey, there's some potential here to make it to the next step, When they see the potential, we see the potential, and they become, a marquee employee. Wow. I'm just amazed at what you've been able to do. How long have you been at Del Valle?
9 years.
9 years, okay.
9 years.
You're going to help start up the program at the new high school as well?
Yep, we're already working on it. Already working those.
What's the timeline for that campus?
2.5 years.
Okay.
2.5 years, and again, same programs for the most part. Maybe a few changes. Our auto tech industry will probably go. We'll probably add a full diesel program in.
Nice.
For that. They're already working. Our auto tech students work at our bus barn 2 days a week, working on diesel buses. Man. They work at Circuit of Americas at COTA 2 days a week, starting right now through the end of the school year. They're there 2 days a week at Circuit of Americas. So those are the opportunities also that happen during the school day. So a lot of construction sites don't. If there's a fab shop close by, possibility of doing those kind of things.
Sure.
If there's not a fab shop close by, that's something that may not be able to happen because it's on the other side of town, or it doesn't happen within that time of the school day.
Sure. But there is a commitment. Folks that want to to help, they'll go the extra mile to be able to help, right? And whether it's, hey, we're going to open up, we're going to stay late so your kids can be by at a different time. I feel like the folks in this industry understand there's an issue, and everybody's looking for a way to help. And this isn't a fix that happens tomorrow. It's a fix that's going to happen over time, and if established correctly, can continue to fuel the market here for years and years to come. What else, Norris? Is there anything else you want to share with us, or is there any other last pitch you want to make here on the podcast?
Well, I think it's just that, as a director in CTE, and there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us around. Most districts have, and most districts have some program, somehow, some form, some fashion, and all of us are doing good work. All of us are training kids. I think that our partners need to know that one, we're a resource, and we can be a resource with specificity, with those skills. Just tell us what you need and show us how to do it if we don't know how to do it, and we'll provide the access for our students to interface with you. And that's the big piece of it. I mean, even if we didn't do all of these other pieces that I mentioned, all this other stuff, if students know they're being trained specifically, these exact skills are hireable. Like, you will be hired if you know this, right? Because many of the skills are going to be ubiquitous across the industry, right?
Sure.
Everybody's going to want the same handful of skills,
Yep.
right? So knowing that that's the skills, and knowing that there's a partner right here with their hand out that's willing to make them a job offer in February of their senior year, onboard them during spring break,
Yeah,
and get them started on June 1st.
sure.
We do that. We can do that. And so we're here ready to do our part. And we just need the help from industry to also devote that time, that 20 hours, to provide that to us so we can make this connection and fill some of the gap that we're going to have in this industry in the Central Texas area. So just know that we're here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Norris, it's been a distinct pleasure to have you on today. Thank you for everything you're doing at Del Valle, what you're doing for Austin, and we look forward to being a partner with you here in the future.
Well, fantastic. Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
It's been such a long